Well, the season's over. We got a lots to talk about. Let's get into it.
Goal. Avellini, here comes Peyton. And Peyton is in for the touchdown.
Unbelievable. First Taves and Kane. 2-on-1. Hustling back his point. Number shot. Goal! Shot retained in overtime.
Had a chance. Uribe charges, throws. Out! And the White Sox have won the World Series.
To the circle. Puts the shot in the air. Good! The game's over. And the Bulls have won.
On the run, and you're going to see Wilbur Marshall come here and really flatten him. Oh, boy, did he really hit him.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian Aaron, and welcome back to Da Superfan Network. It's been a while, but I've been very busy with school and all that, but we're back. And we're back with this season recap. The season is over. Unfortunately, the regular season is over, but the playoffs are still to come. However, the Hawks will not be in the playoffs, so I have lots to talk about. We're going to talk about some stats on the Hawks and how they did this year, in my opinions, and just my predictions for the playoffs. So let's get started with this. First, the Hawks won against San Jose in their season finale, winning 5-2 and being one game short of what I would have called a successful season. They finished with a record of 29, 39, and 14. And if you've been watching for a while, I've been saying that 30 wins, just get at least 30 wins, and I'd call it a successful season. So I will say not a successful season, but I will definitely say a disappointing season. Not mad, not a bad season, not a good season, but just a bit disappointing. A lot of injuries and all that stuff. And with a lot of the stats I'm going to be going through, you will see like why that is and all of that. A record of 29 wins is pretty good. That's the most they've had since Taves and Kane were still here in the first season that Kyle Davidson had taken over the GM role, so a good start there. How the season went with some stats here. 11 games in October. They went 5-4-2 to start the season with that month of October. They had 36 goals for and 32 goals against, so a +4 ratio on that. In November, in my opinion, probably the best month of hockey they had. With 14 games, they were 6-5-3 with a goals for of 44 and a goals against of 41 with a +3 ratio. And I say that's really good because there's a game in here, but they were really bad with their goals for and goals against. In December, this is when everything started falling apart. Bedard gets injured, Nazar gets injured, injuries just plaguing this team. 14 games, a record of 3-9-2 with a goals for of 28 and a goals against of 54. That's a -26. That is the worst goal ratio. Goals for versus goals against ratio this season. In January, there were 16 games. They had a record of 7-7-2, and this is the month I'm talking about where it's like, is it better than November? Is it worse than November? And I say November is better than this because they had a goals for of 40 and a goals against of 51, so a -11. So +3 ratio, +3 or -11, you be the decider of that. Is a goals for ratio add something to it, or do you just basically go look at it at a record standpoint? 7 wins versus 6 wins, 7 losses versus 5 losses, and then those overtime losses, 2 against 3. In February, there was only 4 games because of the Olympics, so I'll still bring it up. It's not going to be that big of a factor and important. Record of 1-3-0. So no overtime losses, and then a goals for of 9 and a goals against of 14 makes it a -5. That one's kind of a null void kind of month, in my opinion, because they only played 4 games. You had the Olympic break. There's a big difference between those first 2 games and those last 2 games of the month, because you had like 2 to 3 weeks of just Olympics, and you're just like sitting and waiting and stuff. So, in my opinion, February is kind of void, so don't really look too into that. March, though, 16 games, 5 wins, 6 losses, 5 overtime losses with a goals for of 38 and a goals against of 56, making that a minus 18. So a bit of some injuries. I know Nazar, I believe, was injured during this time as well, but so a little bit of some figuring out, okay, this is also the time that we had completely got rid of everybody on all the old on the roster, and we're bringing in some of the young guys like Frundell and Boisvert, and we'll talk more about them coming up very soon. In April, 7 games played, 2 wins, 5 losses, 0 overtime losses with a goals for of 18 and a goals against of 27, making that a minus 9. So just like the February one, it's not really that big. It's noticeable, but I think overall the end stretch here was a bit of a rocky end stretch. Some goalie stats. The goalie stats for the Hawks: Knight played 55 games and tied his career of 19 wins. He had 25 losses and 11 overtime losses with a save percentage of .902. Arvid Soderblom had 26 games played with 8 wins, 13 losses, and 3 overtime losses, making his save percentage .880. Comesso played 3 games. He had that really rough one when everybody was sick, and then he had an absolute shutout. So 2 wins, 1 loss, 0 overtime losses, and a save percentage of .918. So adding that all together, a save percentage of .896 for the average between all of those 3 goalies, which is above the average for the league, because the league this year was lower with their average for goaltenders. This year, the goaltending save percentage was .896 for the save percentage. These guys, for the Hawks, they had a save percentage of .896, so right at the average, right on the average. So, of combined 3. So, Soderblom being the backup, a little bit under that average, which is usually pretty, yeah, that's normal because he's a backup. He's not playing as much, and he's not as good, and there's a reason why he's a backup and not a starter. And then Knight was above the average just slightly, but that might be because of defense and all of that. We're still working at the kinks. The defense is really, really young core and all that. So we're still figuring things out as we go. I will say. But I did listen to a bunch of the end of season press conferences for these players. Lots of mature answers from the young guys. Very, very nice and answers from all of those guys. It was really, really nice to hear. I was like, okay, we're having some really, really good answers and all of that. So really good. I'm very happy with this and how things were. Trying to find the captains for this year, because I'll be mentioning the captains of who I think will be the captains this season. To be honest, I have my thoughts of who should be captain, and there's some guys I'm like, maybe not. Who knows? But let's get into some of the more things with the Hawks players in general. We had 4 guys, well, 5 really. 5 guys that were above their points for. Well, not points for. They were above. They had new career highs in points. The four of those being Connor Bedard, Tyler Bertuzzi, Frank Nazar, and Ilya Mikheyev. They were all above in their points or goals and all of that. For Mikheyev, I believe he was higher in goals and not points. But let me double check that. No, he was higher in points. He was definitely higher in points. Not higher in goals and not higher in assists, but career high in points this year with 36. So very good season for Ilya Mikheyev. By the way, Ilya Mikheyev, absolute dog this season. I want to mention, great player, was really good. And hopefully we sign him to a good but not overpriced contract, which I think we will be able to. I say, in my opinion, I had him about, 3 years. I don't know. I don't even think he signed him with my future thing. But I think 3 years. 3 years should be really good for him. 3-year deal. With all of that and all those things. Why can't I find Ilya Mikheyev? Where is he? I have lost Ilya Mikheyev. I don't know where he is. He is not on my thing, which I was going to show what I think the future roster is going to be. But I can't find Ilya Mikheyev on here. Well, isn't that a bit of a frustrating thing? Because that's kind of annoying because he's on the roster. I don't know why it's not showing him on here. Well, Ilya Mikheyev will sign. I think it will be like a 3-year deal. Probably somewhere in the ballpark of around maybe what Ryan Donato is getting paid right now, like $4 million. Maybe a little less than that. I don't think anything higher than 4, though. I think like a $3 million for 3 years would be a pretty good deal. You're getting $1 million, maybe a little more. But in my opinion, that's what I think with all of that. So let's look at some other players. Connor Bedard at career high in goals, assists, and points with 30 goals, 45 assists, and 75 points. He should be around. He could have been around 100 if he wasn't injured. He only played 69 games this season. Tyler Bertuzzi, new career high in goals, not points. New career high in goals with 32 this season. He was very, very good for the Hawks this season. Very, very impressed by Tyler Bertuzzi. That's just short. He was just short. His career high in points was 26 in 2021-2022 in Detroit, when he had 30 goals and 32 assists, 62 points. He had 32 goals this year and 26 assists with 58 points, so that's his second best. But a new career high in goals for Tyler Bertuzzi with 32. Buddy was, as well, a dog. Mikheyev was a dog on the PK. Tyler Bertuzzi was a dog on the in the offense, being that backdoor guy. Frank Nazar, it was a bit of his part. There's a bit of an area where I was like, oh my gosh, is Frank Nazar even going to be that good? But a great ending to the season for Frank Nazar. 15 goals, 26 assists, 41 points total. A very good season. And with the players that he's being compared to, Braden Point and Jordan Kyrou, he's around the ballpark of where those guys were in their third season of play. This being his first full season, but with how many games he played, which I'll get more into that as well with guys playing in their first full seasons and all that. But he was an absolute. So he's on pace for what these other guys were, or the Kyrou and Point, which are nice veterans here in the good veterans in the league now. So I think that would be very, very good. Other guys to point out, Louis Crevier was also good. Louis Crevier, he was the other guy that had a good point total this year, though he hasn't done he's only played 3 seasons with us total, this one being a big jump from the last 2 seasons. He played 24 in his first season, 32 games in his second season, and he jumped up all the way to 78, so he almost played every single game this season. 7 goals, 18 assists, and 25 points, and that blows out all those other 2 seasons. So a good starting point for the kid of Louis Crevier. Very, very good for him. Very, very good. Some guys to point out. Ryan Donato. I point out Ryan Donato just for the fact of he played all 82 games. The only guy on this roster that played the full season, all 82 games. So congratulations to Ryan Donato. Yeah, maybe not the point totals we were looking for from Ryan Donato, but he wasn't playing with Bedard very much this season. But I still think he deserves that contract. It's a good contract. He had 15 goals, 15 assists, 30 points. So pretty down the middle there. If you're a solid 30-point guy, maybe looking for maybe 40 points, but we were moving lines a lot, so it was maybe a little bit hard for him to get some chemistry. When unlike last season where he was strictly with Bedard for the entire season, we really didn't move him at all. And he was able to get the chemistry with Connor Bedard. Do I say put him back with Connor Bedard? No, I don't say that. But keep him on I would say keep him on the third line somewhere, and you will be able to get all of that and stuff in things. So I think that will be very, very good for him when it comes down to that. Burakovsky. That's the other guy I wanted to talk about. Burakovsky. Let's talk about this guy. I'm going to be honest. I think this guy gets bought out. I will be disappointed as a fan, I'll be mad if he doesn't get bought out. If his contract doesn't get bought out, I'd be very, very disappointed. However, as a person and looking at it just in general and being like not being biased or anything, just going with it as it is, I think I won't, like, I'll be mad as a fan. I won't be mad, but I'm not in the ownership group. I'm not a GM. I'm a 21-year-old guy. What do I know about hockey? Not to those standards of those guys. So if they don't buy out his contract and get rid of him, I'll be mad as a fan. But as what would I call this? A journalist? I'm not really a journalist. I'm not writing anything, but like a journalist, a commentator, an analyst, so to say, for this team. If putting that cap on, I'll be like, okay, let's see if he can prove himself again. Let's see if he can prove himself, do better this upcoming season. Let's see how he improves, how he like keeps his spot on the team and such. Let's just see what happens. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Like, we just got to figure out like where all that fits and stuff. So, in my honest opinion as a fan, I want him gone. I want him bought out, I want his contract bought out. I don't want to see him on this team. And you will see that when it comes to like what I have going on with the future, because I just got Ilya Mikheyev back on this team. I don't know why it didn't say, hey, re-sign him. I had to go into the free agency on Puckpedia for that, but we'll get into that in a second. But with Burakovsky, as a fan, I want him bought out. I want him gone. As an analyst, as a commentator, as a journalist, looking at it, putting that cap on, I'd be like, okay, you didn't buy him out. You still have some faith in him. How do you use him that he gets the best of his ability? Because the guy had like 3 points in 36 games or something, like some strange number or whatever. You could probably find that number, but it was a rough number, and I was like, ugh, this is very rough. So let's see if you keep him. Let's see how you can use him. Goalies already mentioned that. Spencer Knight, great season for Spencer Knight. Arvid Soderblom also had a great season. Drew Commesso, there was a time where like, ooh, is Commesso better than Soderblom? That question's still up in the air, in my opinion. I don't really know. I still think Arvid, because of his age and his with his experience, he still stays as the backup. But once like we have to start thinking, okay, what do we want to do? He might be gone, and we might put Commesso in as the backup. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, we have Crawford, and we had like Corey Crawford, we had Crow, and you had like different backups with him. It's like, okay, this backup was good, and then it's like the next season, okay, that didn't work, get rid of him, and now we have this backup. Because we went from, oh my gosh, the guy who did really, really well in 2013, I'm blanking on his name. I am blanking on the guy's name, but like he passed away. Like I know him, Ray Emery. I looked it up. Ray Emery. It was Crawford and Emery, and Emery was a dog. And then I'm pretty sure he died after he was off the team. Like they got rid of him, but like Ray Emery was a great backup goaltender. Like he was a really good backup goaltender. Yeah, he died in 2018. Rest in peace, Ray Emery. Great guy, absolute like stud of a player. But he was a great goalie. And like with contracts and all that, with how that team was, we had to move him because we just didn't have the space for him in the contract. So then we move on to another like backup goaltender, and then we moved to who did we move to? We moved to Darling in that 2014-15 season. So it's like one of those things. Like Soderblom will probably become that. It's like, okay, we're getting later. Like Commesso is getting older. Commesso is looking good in Rockford. we got to bring this guy up. So what do? We can't send Arvid down to the minors. That doesn't make sense at all. So there might be a time where we trade Arvid Soderblom and we have Drew Commesso as the backup. But do I see that happening next year? No. I still think the goalie tandem will be Spencer Knight and Arvid Soderblom as the goalie tandems. So that's what I got from there. Young guys having their first full seasons. And when I mean first full seasons, I mean playing, because like the rules for qualifying for the Calder and for votes for the Calder is you need to play at least 25 games in one season. A lot of these guys have already played seasons for the Hawks, but they didn't make the number of 25. For example, I put Frank Nazar on this list because this was his first full season. He didn't, like last year he came in a little like midway near the end of the season, and yeah, he would have qualified for Calder because he played 25 plus games. He played more than 25 games. This was still his first full season, and he played well, like I mentioned, 15 goals, 26 assists, 41 points. And with all the lineups moving around and stuff with the lines, I still think this is great. This is great for him. It was really good. Ryan Green. Top line minutes for this guy. Do I see that happening next year? No, I don't see Ryan Green getting top line minutes next season, but I still think he is a really, really important piece to this team. I think he did great. 81 games, almost played all the games this season. He had 12 goals, 17 assists, and he had 29 points. Pretty solid player right there. Like, he had a lot of ice time. Like, his total ice time was more than Nazar's at 1,300. Like 1,356 minutes. So I think Ryan Green will be lower. I don't think Ryan Green will be on that top line with Connor Bedard. Could he get there at some point? If he works hard enough, yeah. It's like we saw Connor Bedard, like the difference between Connor Bedard's season, like the second season and the third season, was a big difference because he had that huge like development in the offseason. Like they were talking about he look at him in training, look at him in shooting this and all that stuff, all on social media. So think about that. We have so many guys. What if like a bunch of them have that type of offseason this offseason? We're going to be a force to be reckoned with the coming season. And if everybody stays healthy and we don't lose our big guys like our top two guys of Bedard and Nazar, we might be in contention for the wild card. Maybe. We'll get more into that later. But Ryan Green, great player. Everyone was really dogging on him in social media, and I think cut the kid some slack. He's 22. He's a great player. Some guy that I won't cut slack to, Artem Levshinov, buddy was all over the place. He has the worst plus-minus on the team of minus 41. He needs a great offseason. But he needs a great offseason to get things figured out. He played 68 games this year, only 2 goals and 22 assists, 24 points. But as a defenseman, yeah, I see that. Oliver Moore had a great season despite being injured. He got injured and couldn't finish the rest of the season. 5 goals, 14 assists, and 19 points. There's something with this guy. He's speedy, he's fast, and I listened to his press conference, his end of season press conference. He's ready to play. He will be playing in the World Championships for Team USA, so I have something to watch over during the summer and the off season. Thank you very much. So I'll be excited to watch Oliver Moore, and hopefully Oliver Moore will have like a Frank Nazar kind of thing where Frank Nazar was going crazy in the World Championships, and then Oliver Moore kind of has the same. Hopefully that will help him out and develop him. I think Oliver Moore will be a great guy coming up with this team. Nick Lardis also had a great season. 41 games played. 10. He came up a little later in this season, kind of like how they had Frank Nazar last season. But 41 games played, 10 goals, 5 assists, 15 points. So a really small sample size of 41 games, like half the season. I'm excited to see what he'll do in the offseason and then what will happen when we come to next season. He has his first full season playing for us. Sam Renzel also had a great season. Up and down the lineups from is he on the Hawks? Is he in Rockford? Where is he at? Calling him up, sending him down. 54 games played, 4 goals, 10 assists, 14 points. Still a solid season. This guy was really good on defense. Renzel was a menace on defense. He was really, really good. I liked Sam Renzel. But those guys, it was really, really nice to see all that. I kind of want to bring this up. So the lines. We're going to talk about the lines because the lines have been switching all over the place. Blashill being his first season, I think a lot of people are like, fire Blashill. I think Blashill's a great coach. It was just new coach, bunch of young guys. We're trying to figure out the chemistry. We're trying to figure out what works and what isn't. This was more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Experimental season. This was a very experimental season for the Hawks because it's like, okay, we have a bunch of these young guys coming up, like Frundell and Boisvert, which they had some great seasons as well, I might add, though very, very short. I'm excited to see what they will be doing the upcoming with this. So we'll see what happens. So let's compare the lines from the first game of the season, very first game of the season, to the last game of the season. I have the Chicago Sun-Times pulled up. The forward lines in game 1 of the season was Ryan Donato, Connor Bedard, Andre Burakovsky. The second line was Tara Vinen, Frank Nazar, Tyler Bertuzzi. The third line was Colton Dock, Jason Dickinson, and Ilya Mikheyev. And the fourth line was Nick Foligno, Ryan Green, and Sam Lafferty. With the defensive tandems being Alex Vlasic, Matt Grzelcyk, and Sam Renzel. Oh yeah, because they played 7 guys. It was weird. They played less forwards and 7 guys. Yeah, because that was weird. I don't know what they were doing there. But this has Alex Vlasic, Matt Grzelcyk, and then they also have Sam Renzel over here. They have Wyatt Kaiser, Artem Levzhinov, Ethan Del Mastro, and Connor Murphy. So I guarantee you it was Lafferty that sat out that game probably for that first game of the season. I'm not really sure. And then the goalies stayed the same. That was the first game of the season. This was the last game of the season. Nazar, Bedard, Lardis, Mikheyev, Frundell, Bertuzzi, Donato, Green, Burakovsky, Teravainen, Lafferty, Slager. And then the defensive pairings of Vlasic, Crevier, Kaiser, Renzel, Korchinski, and Del Mastro. That's a big difference. Also, Levchinov was injured. So, yeah, Levchinov injured, or Grzelcyk injured. But that's a big difference. A lot of those guys gone, like Dickinson gone, which Dickinson was great for face-offs. Foligno, my captain, Foligno, gone. Doc, gone. Those defensive, Connor Murphy, gone. Thank you. As a fan, I'm like, thank you. Ever since Connor Murphy got here in Chicago, I did not like him. I did not like how he played. I was like, this guy is bad. I don't like this guy. Because it was it felt like every time I watch him, I felt like every single mistake was because of him. So, but he was still great, and he'll be playing in the playoffs for Edmonton. So I'm excited. So I'm happy though I didn't like him when he was on the Hawks. Near the end, before he got traded, I was like, okay, I'm starting to like him. And then he got moved to Edmonton. And I was like, okay, good. He's moved to Edmonton, and he finally gets his first taste of playoff hockey. He's been in the league for quite some time. He was with Arizona. And then the Coyotes, when the Coyotes were still a thing. And then he moved to us, and he's been here for quite some time. He hasn't sniffed the playoffs at all ever since he was on the Hawks. So he finally gets some taste of some playoff hockey, which I'm very happy for him. But it's just very interesting things with all of this. So now I think it's time to show what I think the future lines are going to be. Okay, we're back. We are back. So this is what I wanted to show. This is my opinion of what will be. This is my thoughts of what will be the team. This is what I think the team will be. So starting lineup, we have Lardis, Bedard, and Nazar on the top line. Now, there is a little bit of a difference here. I'll explain what I think. This is rough, but there's one switch I have on here that could be different now. So Lardis, Bedard, Nazar, Bertuzzi, Frundell, Roman Kantsarov, the guy from Russia who at this time is playing right now in the playoffs, going to be playing in the playoffs soon. Donato, Moore, and Mikheyev, Teravainen, Boisvert, and Green are guys in our press box being Slager, Mangiapane, and Ethan Del Mastro. The defense, Vlasic, Crevier, Kaiser, Renzel, Korchinski, Levchinov. And then our goalies stay the same. Now, with the with the Lander, these guys. Here's my opinion. If Ryan Green isn't working, you throw in Mangiapane. If he's playing fine, you keep Ryan Green here on that fourth line. That's just my opinion with it. I think Ryan Green is a better on the fourth line kind of guy. Yeah, he is a left winger center, but in not fitting on that side. So honestly, Ryan Green, you could probably slot almost anywhere on this roster. To be honest, Ryan Green's kind of like one of those wild cards. Like, you can slot him wherever you want on the roster. This is the one change I really wanted to talk about. So here's my opinion. I think what will mostly happen, this depends on what route they do with Frundell, because they played him on center, which was really interesting to me. But I think what will most likely happen is you'll have Lardis, Bedard, and Frundell, and you'll have Bertuzzi, Nazar, and Kanserov. And Nazar will be less of the goal scorer guy and more of the playmaker in this kind of scenario. If not, I think you throw Green here, you throw Roman Kanserov down here, so you have your goal scorer here, and you have Ryan Green. You throw Ryan Green to the left, you throw Bertuzzi on the right, and you have your backdoor goal scorer. You have a goal scorer here, but then you also have your playmaker of Ryan Green. I think Ryan Green is way more of a playmaker guy, two-way forward kind of guy. He's kind of one of those guys. He's less of a goal scorer, more like okay, I'm a playmaker. Let me generate the play. Not being like, okay, I'm the quarterback of the power play, but more of like a guy that's like, okay, I can generate like a chance on a 5-on-5 play and hopefully get one of these guys to score a goal. So honestly, I'm looking at this. I think this is way better. Kanserov, he might be here. He might be here. Like, it's just, there's a lot that can happen, to be honest. Roman Kanserov, he's 5'9", so it's like, do you really want to put him with, like, Boisvert, who's, like, Boisvert's 6'3". So, honestly, that kind of works. He's new, he's fresh to the league. You put him on the fourth line, you give him some minutes, and then as time goes on, Bertuzzi will get older. Bertuzzi might go. We might get rid of Ryan Donato. I think these two we'll probably get rid of. So in this kind of scenario, let me send this down and send this down. So I think the upcoming year, I think what we'll do is we'll throw Kanserov here on the right side. You have Mikheyev on the left side here on this third line, and then you throw, like, I don't know, I guess you could throw like Donato and Boisvert here Donato and like Teravainen. Let me do that. Honestly, this might be what the roster is. You throw Tavo on the left side, and you throw Ryan Donato here, and honestly, because it's Boisvert, you could probably put Boisvert here and Ryan Donato here. You kind of have like this weird line, but it's like they could still score, and honestly, this might be the roster. This, like, looking at this, I like this more than I like this more than what I had before. So this is what I actually this honestly is what I think the roster will be. We're playing around with this because I look at it now, I'm like, okay, this might actually be what the roster is, and I'm kind of happy with this. Like, this I'm way more happy with than what I had before. Like, I still think you could do, like Frundell and Nazar. Ryan Green, he's up on that second line, I think, because here's the thing. I feel like, with my mind, and thinking about it, like, Mikheyev, you have your two-way forward of Mikheyev. He's great on defense. He's great on offense. He's going to stay on that penalty kill. You have Oliver Moore, who's got speed. He can be a playmaker, but he can also score. And then you have Roman Kanserov, who's been an absolute dog with scoring. In my mind, that's a better way, in my opinion. Mikheyev is like 6'2". Moore is like 5'10", 5'11". He's 5'11", so he's up there. And then you have Kanserov at 5'9". So that's pretty good sizing when it comes to these guys. And in my opinion, that looks great because you have your two-way forward. You got your defensive stuff on there with Ilya Mikheyev. You have Oliver Moore, who is your playmaker, scorer, and then you have Roman Kanserov, who's your absolute scorer. The thing I didn't like about having Roman Kanserov with Bertuzzi and Nazar is that Bertuzzi's a scorer, Nazar's a scorer, Kanserov's a scorer. You gotta, like, I don't know, divvy out the scoring. You need to have guys in the right spots. You can't bury Roman Kanserov. You give him like second line minutes, but you can't bury him with two guys that are also goal scorers. That's just my thoughts. With this, you have each part. You have Mikheyev, who is the two-way guy. He's your he can generate offense. He's great on defense. You got your Oliver Moore, who's got the speed. He can generate offense, being a goal scorer or a playmaker. And then you have Kancherov, who's just there, who can just score. He is your sniper. He is your guy. That's what it is. With Bedard, I think it's the same way. Bedard can do it all, but but in my opinion, I think he's a little bit more of a playmaker. You have Frundell, who's a scorer. Lardis, who's also a scorer. That line, nasty. This is a disgusting top line. Heck, this whole roster is crazy. The only thing that's like, okay, you have your fourth line, but that's your fourth line. Fourth lines aren't going to be the greatest, but these top three, these lines are going to be great. Now, I think Bedard gets the C. Here's what I'm thinking. For the sanity, I would love this guy to get an A, but for the sanity of my wallet, I don't want to update and try to put an A on this guy's sweater. So what I think will probably happen is Bedard will get a C. Bertuzzi will keep an A because he's the older guy. He's one of the oldest guys on the roster besides Teravainen and Mikheyev. Like, Bertuzzi's one of the old guys. He's now the vet. I think Bertuzzi gets an A. Bedard gets the C. And then I think I'm really going to say, like, I think Crevier will be get the other A. It's either Crevier or Vlasic, which I will re-sign Crevier's on his second year coming up, so he'll get that. But it might be Vlasic, actually. Alex Vlasic has been here for quite some time. He's 25 years old. I think Vlasic, it's hard because I don't really know much about, I'm more of the offense. I know a lot more about the offensive guys than the defensive guys, as you can tell. That would probably be my goal next year, is figure out the defensive guys and learn about the defensive guys. Because I've been like, okay, you need an A on the defense, you need an A, and you need an A on an offense, and you need the captain. This is Bedard's team. He's going to get the captain. By the way, I gave Bedard a $9.5 million contract. That might be more, that might be less. In my opinion, I think 9.5 is pretty good for him. I think that's a really good contract. 9.5 for 8 years, while Nazar is getting 6.5 for 7. So I think 9.5 for 8 years is a pretty good deal. You're not overpaying. That's a pretty good, solid number there, in my opinion. So looking at this, I feel like it's between Vlasic and Crevier who gets the other A. I want to say Vlasic, but I also want to say Crevier because Crevier's got the booming shot. But I'm trying to figure out what was our penalty kill numbers. Trying to figure out our penalty kill and all of that. But in just my opinion, it's got let me look at lineups. Let me figure out where he was. Let me just figure out who was the penalty kill. Vlasic was on the penalty kill, so was Crevier. Honestly, I think Vlasic gets the A. So Vlasic and Bertuzzi with A's, Bedard with a C. Would I love to see Frank Nazar with an A on his sweater? Absolutely. But I think because you have Bertuzzi there and you're giving Bedard a C, I think, and to balance it out, because you need a captain. You need a captain for the defense. So I think Vlasic gets an A, Bertuzzi gets an A, and Bedard gets the C. Now, it's time for playoff predictions. Let's get some playoff predictions here. So we got Colorado and Los Angeles, Dallas and Minnesota, Vegas and Utah, Edmonton and Anaheim, Buffalo and Boston, Tampa Bay and Montreal, Carolina and Ottawa, Pittsburgh and Philly. I hate this matchup right here. And here's why I hate this matchup. Because apparently it's the 7th and the 8th best team in the Eastern Conference. Go back to 1v8. Because a 7 should not be playing an 8. These guys should be playing something else. But we have to have good first rounds, and it's Bettman and all that. But as a fan, I hate it. As a journalist, commentator, analyst, it is what it is. But in my opinion, my general opinion, I think we should go back to 1v8. So let's break this down. Colorado versus Los Angeles. Colorado wins this, and it's going to be in 6 games. Dallas versus Minnesota. I think Minnesota gets it done in 6, and Foligno is going to the second round. The Foligno brothers are going in the second round. Vegas and Utah. I think Utah wins this in 7. Utah stuns Vegas and does it in 7. Edmonton versus Anaheim. I think Anaheim wins this in 6. Edmonton, in my opinion, has not been that good. But Edmonton, Anaheim looks pretty good. Buffalo and Boston, that's going in 6, and that's going to be Buffalo getting the job done. Tampa Bay and Montreal, I think Tampa Bay wins it in 6 as well. Carolina and Ottawa, I think that goes 5, maybe 6. I'll say 6. We'll go 6 with Carolina and Ottawa. And then Pittsburgh and Philly, that's going in 7. And I'm going to say Pittsburgh. Shout out Sam Starrett. That will be going in 7. So we'll have Colorado and Minnesota, and I think Colorado is going to go in 6 and go to the conference finals. Utah and Anaheim. I think Anaheim makes a run, and they win in 6, maybe 7 games. We'll say 7. Anaheim wins it in 7, and they go to the conference finals, and it will be Colorado versus Anaheim. Colorado will win it in probably like 6, and they will be going to the Stanley Cup again. Over here, it's Buffalo versus Tampa Bay. I think Buffalo wins in 6. Carolina versus Pittsburgh. I think Carolina wins in 6. Buffalo versus Carolina. I think Buffalo will win it in 6 games as well. And then Buffalo versus Colorado for the Stanley Cup Finals. Let me tell you, I think this is going to be the first time in a long time that the series goes in 7. I think the last time that a Stanley Cup Finals series went in 7 games was 2019. I think that's the last time that a series went in 7 games. And I think Buffalo will get it done, and Buffalo will win their first ever Stanley Cup and beat the Colorado Avalanche. And why I say that is because Colorado is the President's Trophy winners, and the President's Trophy curse is still on. The last team to do it was our beloved Hawks in that 2013 season, that lockout season. So the Hawks are the last team to win both the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup. And I think the curse continues. Colorado wins the President's Trophy, but doesn't get the cup. Buffalo is going to win the Stanley Cup. That is what I think is going to be the playoffs. Some final thoughts and some expectations of what I think, what I want coming from this next season. Keep your expectations low as always. There's one. You have to have your main goal, your one goal that this needs to happen, and I think 30 wins. As long as the Hawks get at least 30 wins, I'll be happy. I will be like, all right, it was a successful season because we haven't gotten 30 wins in the past 6 straight seasons. So, in my opinion, you get 30 wins, successful season. But where this team could be, we could be fighting for that wild card. Think about it. We could have been fighting for the wild card if in fighting where San Jose was, which, thank you, San Jose did not make the playoffs. I do not want to hear oh my goodness, the San Jose Sharks rebuild is way better than the Blackhawks. Like, oh my goodness. San Jose has no D line. They had their penalty kill fell apart near the end of that season. Near the end of the season, the penalty kill went flat, fell apart. It was awful. It was terrible. We have the D core, and we have the offense. If Bedard and Nazar don't get injured, completely different season, completely different story. But I think the Hawks, we will be fighting for a wild card spot. Do we get in? I don't know. I don't know if we get in. I think we will, because you have teams like the Kings that keep making it in. Edmonton is going to be selling with how that team is going. I think like they made the playoffs again, but something tells me that they're not going to go all the way to the finals. I think Anaheim will shock the world and beat them. And then, not really shock the world, but stun Edmonton and they will beat them. And Edmonton will be like, okay, we got to rebuild. We got to start over. Plus, it's Stan Bowman. So Stan Bowman will probably freak out and probably be like, hey, I want this old Hawk guy. Like, can I have this Hawk player that used to play for me and he's really, really old now? Like, can I have, like it would be really crazy. Hey, can I have Teuvo Teravainen? That'd be kind of crazy. We trade Teuvo Teravainen to Edmonton would be kind of funny. But that's what I just think. I think Edmonton will be selling soon. Tampa Bay might be selling soon, but that won't matter. That's the Eastern Conference. The Kings are the Kings, and they always somehow make it, but it's like always like weird. Utah will be moving up. Vegas is somewhere. I think they'll stay. But I think we'll finally be in the question of wild card. I don't think we'll be in the question of, we will be like one of those 3 spots, because Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota are light years ahead of everybody else. Colorado, dog. Dallas, dog. In Minnesota, with that Quinn Hughes trade, have become a dog. Let me tell you, Minnesota might be, if anything goes wrong with this bracket that isn't me messing up one of the first round things, I think Minnesota has the best chance at beating the Colorado Avalanche if they beat Dallas. If Minnesota beats Dallas, that in Colorado versus Minnesota might go 7. It might go 7, and Minnesota might win that, and Minnesota will be going to the conference finals. Which, as a Hawks fan, hate that, but as a hockey fan, love that, because I'm tired of seeing Colorado and Dallas and the same teams always making it to the conference finals. That's why I'm like, please, hopefully Anaheim beats Edmonton, because it's like, okay, we want something new. We need something fresh, because we've had Edmonton versus Florida for the back-to-back seasons. We had Florida in the past 3 seasons in the Stanley Cup Finals. Florida's out of it. Edmonton's is a little bit on the decline. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying the door is wide open. It's not like the 2003 Stanley Cup Final, those playoffs where everything was wide open. You had like the Mighty Ducks playing against, who did the Mighty Ducks even play? It was the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim in New Jersey. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so wide open. Like, this is like crazy how wide open this is. Like, the Western Conference Finals was Minnesota, the Wild versus the Ducks. That was a sweep of 4 games. But I'm just saying, it's not wide open. The door is wide open. It's not that. The door is not that wide open. It is not that at all. The door is not wide open like that. There are definitely favorites. Colorado's a favorite. Buffalo is a favorite. The big storylines of, can Carolina get over the hump and finally make it to the finals? Because they've gone so many times. They're they're in the spot and then they choke it away. Sidney Crosby, could he make a run with the Pittsburgh Penguins and shock the world? Could Utah make a run? There's so many storylines. There's definitely your favorites of, these guys will probably be in the conference finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. But it's it's not really clear what could happen. Minnesota could beat Colorado. In my opinion, Minnesota can beat Colorado. And I think that'd be kind of crazy if Minnesota beat Colorado. It'd be like, holy crap. Minnesota just beat Colorado. They're going to the conference finals. As a hockey fan, as a whole, that's awesome. I would love seeing Minnesota play. There's part of me, I'm a Hawks fan. We should hate Detroit and we should hate Minnesota. But part of me was disappointed that Detroit didn't make it to the playoffs, because I'm like, oh my gosh, can we have someone new? Someone different. Minnesota, they've been making the playoffs I think consistently, recently, when it comes to all of this. When it comes to this, I feel like they've been making the playoffs consistently. But I think they just haven't shown for it. I want to double check that just to make sure. Let me see this. Okay, so they had been consistent. 2019, they lost in the qualifying round, so let's ignore that. But lost in the first round from 2020 to 2023. They didn't make the playoffs in the 23-24 season. Last year they did. Lost in the first round last season. And they lost in that first round to Vegas 4-2. With how this team is built now, and they're not playing Vegas, they're not in a wild card spot. They finished, so they're not in a wild card spot. Minnesota has a chance to beat Dallas and then beat Colorado. If they do that, they will become the favorite to win the cup. It's not open. It's not wide open. There's definitely the favorites, but it's a very exciting. The playoffs are always very exciting, and hopefully one day the Hawks, maybe next season, will be in that. What I want for if the Hawks make it to that, I'm not expecting a run to the cup. I'm not. What I'm expecting is they get some experience. Maybe they win a round. That'd be amazing. It'd be like it would be really cool. Like the Bears, they play the Packers and they win, and they win a round in the playoffs. They get more experience. They play in the divisional round. That's what I want for the Hawks. Like, the Hawks win in the first round. They get some second round kind of style. Maybe they make a run. Maybe they don't. But they get that playoff experience. That's what I'm wanting from this. What my expectations for next year, at least 30 wins. That is the main goal, at least 30 wins. If you make the playoffs, awesome. That's a bonus. And at least win a round and get some experience. That is my opinion. Other than that, I think this season, though not what we were hoping for, it was a little disappointing, but I still think it was an okay season. It was an okay season. This season will be one of the biggest what ifs seasons. Very, very big what if season. What if Bedard doesn't get injured and Nazar doesn't get injured in this month of December? What if Frundell comes in earlier? What if Roman Kancerov's team isn't the best team in the KHL and they don't make the playoffs? What if he comes in this season as well? What if Burakovsky was actually did what Burakovsky was supposed to be doing? The expectations of what we expected from him. This was just one of the biggest what if seasons. But we're glad it's over and we're looking to the future. It's April, May, June, July, August, September. We have 6 months. 6 months to go through the playoffs and the off season until Blackhawks hockey is back. And what a day that will be when the Blackhawks hockey is back. And it will be an exciting one. I'm excited to see the future of this team. I'm so ready for next season. And I said that. I didn't have this channel from the 24-25 season into the 25-26 season. I started it up this year, near the end of the season. And I'm excited that with this, I'll be having the opportunity to do that. So I'm excited. I was excited for this season, and then a bunch of stuff happened. It was very disappointing. But I'm really excited for next season. This season was a big what-if season. It could have been way different. The start of the season, that October, that November, everything looked great, and then everything fell apart in December because of injuries. What if that doesn't happen? Where would we be at? Would Bedard be on the same level as Celebrini with points? Who knows? But the playoffs start tomorrow. And you're probably watching this video the day that the playoffs start. Watch some playoff hockey. It's fun. Doesn't matter if the Hawks are in it or not. Watch it. It's great. Other than that, that will do it for the Blackhawks season for DAW Superfan Network. I'm still debating if we do. I think we'll do probably do some playoff talk. That being either we talk about it with after each round, or we do it after each playoff series. We'll talk about this playoff series ends, let's talk about it. We'll probably do it that way. But that's going to do it for the Blackhawks season. I'm excited for the future. The future looks bright. And to all the people that keep complaining, and it's like, oh my gosh, we need to fire Kyle Davidson, or we need to fire Jeff Blashill. Well, too bad. Kyle Davidson signed a multi-year contract, so he's not going anywhere. In Kyle from Chicago, I trust this guy. He is building this team right. I'm telling you, you just need some patience. Yes, it's taking way longer, but people forget that he took this team he had to take it and completely dismantle it to build it back up. Would you rather have had this season or had the dark ages of the 2022-2023 season? I don't think so. That's going to do it for this season for DA Superfan Network with the Chicago Blackhawks. Off to the playoffs, and we'll see you with the 2026-2027 season. I will see you next time. For AJ Neihart, I'm saying so long on this in putting a end of chapter to the Blackhawks 2025-2026 season.